Welcome to International Securities Exchange's podcast series. Facilitated by renowned educators, ISE podcasts are intended to teach beginning as well as seasoned investors the ins and outs of trading. To find an updated list of podcasts, please visit www.ise.com/podcasts. Please be sure to listen to our important message following this episode regarding the risks of investing in exchange-traded options.
Oscillators in particular, oscillators are tools which are useful to add information to the chart in itself, to the price in itself. And we'll see deeper in the next minutes. They are alternative to trend following approaches. In fact, trend following is the best way to win money very easily in the market. So when you see that a trend is going up, you buy and you wait until your target is reached, and there's no pain. But markets are not always trending, and sometimes the trend is reversing in the other way. So oscillators are very useful to this kind of trend following approach, and in non-trending markets, when markets are ranging sideways. They also indicate overbought and oversold areas when we think that prices are reaching some areas where prices should not be. So they can also signal that the trend is losing its momentum and maybe reverse. So that's why it could be very useful for investors which are sometimes trend followers, and these oscillators would show that the trend may be arriving to an end, maybe reverse. Some example of oscillators, two of the most famous, the RSI, we will see deeper in the moment, and the momentum. The momentum is one of the first indicators created in the past. It measures the velocity of price changes. It is calculated while subtracting the price of 10 days ago to the last price. So you can see if it is above zero or below zero, if the price and its momentum is accelerating or not. So if the price is going up, and you will see on your momentum indicator that this momentum is also going up, the uptrend is accelerating. So you can buy, for example, on a case of bull market, you can buy on this acceleration, and you will reach your target very soon. But the momentum has some drawbacks. It is not capped by boundaries, so you can't really know when it is oversold or overbought. It is its main drawback, and that's why the RSI has been developed by Walt Wilder Jr. in the 78. In a famous book, you can read it if you want to go deeper on the subject. New concepts in technical trading systems. So it has been developed to avoid sharp changes of the indicators, the previous indicators, such as the momentum, because as I said before, the momentum was a subtract between the price, for example, 10 days ago and the last price. But if the price 10 days ago was a movement of 5%, and if the price haven't moved since that day, you can see on your indicator a sharp move, but without any sense. So that's why the RSI is more useful in in this case. There was also a need for a constant range for comparisons. As I said before, momentum was not a gap between lines, so we can't really know when other movements were seen. So the RSI is bordered by between 0 and 100, and so below the level of 30 level, you can say we are oversold, and above the 70 level, we are overbought. And that's why it could be more useful. You can see really on your indicator when you are in these areas. So, and be very cautious because the term relative strength is not a ratio between two entities. For example, when you sometimes on the financial market, you can hear this is a ratio between let's say a stock and its index. For example, Boeing toward the S&P, and this is what we call a ratio or relative strength. But this is not the case for the relative strength index. This is not a ratio between two entities, but between gainers and losers on the single price, on a single underlying. In fact, the RSI measures the magnitude of gains versus the magnitude of the losses, and this is the speed of change of the market price, and not a ratio between two entities. Calculation. I don't see the formula, Steve. It doesn't work on my PowerPoint. I don't know if you see. I added the formula,
I see.
but
No, Christophe, it says calculation, and it doesn't have the formula there. I'm sorry.
okay.
Must
So
have gotten lost. I'm sorry.
it's not very important, but so I will sum it very quickly for you. In fact, this is you divide the average down by the average days up, and you the subtract to 100 to be bordered by 0 and 100. So I will show you in the next slide. Usually we use a 14 days or weeks period. This is an habit for most traders. Some people use short-term time period, for example 10 on 11. If you use a shorter time period, the oscillator will be more sensitive. So if you an intraday trader, if you trade in a very short term basis, maybe you can use a shorter term indicator, but it could lead to misunderstanding in case of false breakouts. That's why we usually use 14. This is an average between shorter term and longer term. So sometimes it depends on each trader of your own experience. Some of my colleagues prefer using a 22 days period, but it depends of your experience.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. To find more podcasts on options, stocks, alternative markets, and market data, please visit www.ise.com/podcasts.